It's still good morning. Good morning to everybody. My name is David Cox and my presentation is about auto reports. So, what is the best reporting system? Almost all of our programs have to use reporting systems, getting the data out. The best reporting system is one that is able to run itself. Okay. So, what are auto reports? Auto reports, as I've created them, are reports that you set up once. You spend a lot of work setting them up, and then the reports are then triggered. They're triggered either by a date time passing or the existence of data in the database. And the difference between that and normal reporting is that the report is then sent automatically. In other words, there's no user intervention, none by you, none by your clients. So why might you need auto reports? What problem is it that you might have that needs to be solved by auto reports? Well, this was my situation. So you may have a customer who pays for you to produce a periodic report. In my case, it was a monthly report I needed to create, search through all the different logs, find any issues with all of their computers and servers in their system, and report back. It took me about an hour to build it, and once I built it, I would then save it as a PDF and email it off to the customer. Another thing that you may want an auto report for is for you or your client, your customer, to be informed when a particular trigger happens. It could be that you want to automatically be informed when there's a new online order, or at the end of each week, you might want to have a report automatically sent to you as to how many orders you had during the week or month. You might want to be automatically sent a report of the complaints that might be in your database, or when there's a failed payment, somebody buys something, the money didn't go through, I want to know that that was the case. Or in my case, things like access violations. Was somebody dodgy trying to access into our system? We want to know that straight away. Okay. What it means for you might be that instead of every day you connecting onto your bug reporting database to see have any users got any bugs, you don't need to do that anymore, because it will report to you and tell you if or when there are particular problems, so it saves you that time. You may also be in the situation where you would like to receive perpetual payments from your clients for work that you didn't have to do. In other words, you've set it all up, you set up the auto report, it does all the work for you on a periodic basis, sends it out, you can even send your invoice out, you can even get your invoice paid and be told if and when your invoice didn't. So you can get paid without physically doing any actual work. What that then means is that you can scale. So for me to produce a report every month, a couple of hours, meant that I was limited to how many clients I could support in that similar way. If I had set it up as an auto report, and that's what I've built now, I could support an unlimited number of clients, whether it's 10, 50, 100, 1,000, doesn't matter. Once I set up the auto reports, it just keeps itself going. So how does it work? This is how we normally set up our different computer system. We have a database connection, usually to a SQL database somewhere in the cloud. And then we go off and we query that database and return a row set, or as I call it in my system, a data set. Once we get that row set data set, we can then produce a table. That might be on screen, it might be elsewhere, we might put it into a list box. The other alternative for viewing a row set is we might produce a chart, line, bar, pie, whatever you want. So that is fairly normal. That's what we do now. The question is, where on earth does an auto report fit into this? It fits in underneath, and it runs on a regular, it runs continuously checking for a trigger. So it talks to the database, gets a row set or a time, and most of the time a trigger won't happen, but when a trigger now happens with the data, it then does something. Typically then, it goes and talks to your database connection, gets the row set data. It then can build a list box out, it'll build a table out of that information. It might use some of that row set data to build a chart. Then what does it do with all of that information? It puts it into an HTML template. So I have HTML templates which have placeholders in it for all sorts of data, which might be for a table, it might be for a chart, it might be all sorts of different personal data, brings it into an HTML template, replaces all those placeholders with the data that the auto report has looked up. Okay, so you've got an HTML template filled in. What on earth can you do with that? Two things that I have set up to do. One is it's set up to automatically look up my email settings and send me or my client or both an email, and it keeps a record of that email. The other thing that it might do once it triggers is go off and look up my SMS settings, so that even if I don't have my computer with me, I have my phone with me roaming around. It looks up my SMS settings for this report and then sends an SMS, or both. There's no reason why you can't have both. Obviously, the SMS isn't going to have the full report. It will have its own specialised cut-down version to say this trigger has happened. Okay, so what are the downsides of using an auto report? One of the downsides is it takes a long while to actually set it up in the first place. You also need to know something about SQL to know what information do I want to get out of the database. You also need to have an email account if you want to send out the emails, or an SMS account on a service where you can send out the texts. You will need to design a number of things into your application. So you can see all of the windows there that I need to set up to be able to build this auto report. One of them is the database connection. The example I'm running here is that my computer is going to go off and talk to a MySQL database. That's my database connection. You're going to need to work out, what do I want in my data set, in my row set, what particular elements. If you want to bring in tables of data of your row set, you need to know what information do I want to have in there, so set up the tables. Charts, am I going to have line pies? What different type of chart do I want to have displayed in my report? And then you need to build the HTML template, a nice looking form which will have the data brought into it. And frequency. How often do we want to run this auto report? Important decision. Is it a daily report, a weekly, monthly, yearly? Do you want it to run at the end of the month, start of the month, day of the week? All sorts of things like that. So that's something that you have to work out beforehand. But what are the upsides? Xojo lets you connect into pretty much everything, and through Christian's modules, pretty much any database as well. You can potentially run multiple auto reports. There's no limit to how many you can run. I'm just going to be showing you one, but you can potentially have dozens, hundreds, if you want to, all running at the same time. Another thing is that you can if you do have it running and it's doing all the work, it can be sending emails or SMSs in the middle of the night while you sleep. You can be on holidays. You don't need to go, oh, okay, I've got to take my laptop with me on holiday so I can do the report and send it off to them. it automatically will send that out for you. If you want, you can include yourself in a blind carbon copy on every email so that the customer gets the report, but also you have a record of what they received. You can do the same thing with SMS. If it sends a text, a trigger to a customer, you can also include your number in there so you're getting the same triggers if you wish. It also remembers, it needs to remember that what is the earliest next time that this auto report is going to be running. Every single auto report will have a time of when it's next going to run, and you need to keep that aside to make the actual triggering a lot easier. So I have a timer which runs every minute and checks those particular dates to see, am I actually past that date or on that date? And if I am, and only then might it look up the database. So in other words, if you have the checking for the trigger all the time, most of the time it won't even access the database at all. It will go, this particular report runs once a month, I'm not at the end of the month, just get out straight away. So that makes life a lot easier. 99% of the time, it's not going to do anything more than drop out. And I've got it set up that if I don't actually have any auto reports, my timer doesn't even run. So there's no impact on your database at all. For the HTML editor, I use the Graffiti Suite editor, which has lots of, gives you lots of flexibility as to how your reports look. We'll see some of that later. And I've made it very easy for me to bring charts and tables into my reports just by putting some brackets around and say report table 1, 2, 3 or report chart 4, 5, 6, whatever. It searches for that particular type of text, and if it finds it, it will run and import that particular table or report. So in other words, it's quite easy to edit the HTML to make it bring in other data. It also means because the HTML editor is separate from all the rest, if you find you need to update some information on your HTML template, you can easily just edit it, save it, not change anything else. Next time it runs, it will automatically incorporate that new data, that new text or picture or whatever you want. And the way I've got it mine set up is it's secure. So you can't have people in your organisation typing in and saying, can you give me such and such a report or chart that they're not really allowed to have access to. So in other words, it looks up to see, okay, this particular chart or table uses this particular database connection. Are they allowed to use that database connection? No. Well, it won't go any further. If they can, yes, it'll continue. Do they have access to get that data set, that row set? Yes. Do they have the rights to build that table, create that chart? Yes, they do. If not, it will just put blank or unknown or authorization error in there. Okay, lastly, all of this is able to run cross-platform. All of what I'm doing here, and I'll show you later, runs on desktop, runs on web, runs on mobile as well. Okay, so what sort of things can you put in your auto reports? Anything that HTML provides. So I use, as you can see on the left-hand picture, is the Graffiti Suite editor, but I'm sure you could use any editor that you may want to. You can embed pictures in there, logos and things like that. I use lots of different placeholders. The ones that I'm going to be showing you today use placeholders for me as the user. I don't need to put my name and whatever in there. I just put in the placeholder for all my details, the contacts details, the chart details, tables, etc. Pictures, underlying fonts, tables, as in HTML tables, and you can even put, what I've done is put charts inside HTML tables. It's very flexible. So as I said, pictures, logos, not a problem. Xojo charts, you can put in there every single type. Row sets, I convert any row sets to an HTML table, so that's is very easy to convert into HTML, and as you can see, different placeholders. And so when I have the, when I send out an email, even the subject line of the email has placeholders in it. Or it may have, when I send out the SMS text, it will include, so it'll say what ID is it that we're sending out, what's the name of this particular auto report, how many records did it return, what's the priority of it, things like that you can put into the SMS or into the email header so that even those elements are tailored according to your report. Okay, where are they sent? Well, they're sent typically to your email addresses. And because it creates HTML, it will either go, you can specify it to be as the HTML body of your email, or I've got it set up where I can convert the HTML into PDF and it'll add that as an attachment to my email. Either way, it's up to you. Or, as I was showing you before, you can send a small amount of text to an SMS number. Or you can send it ad hoc. So what that may mean is that if your client typically has an auto report due at the end of the month, but he calls up and says, look, can you give me the information as to what it is today? Then you can, in my case, click on it and say go and run now, and it'll run. Instead of waiting for the trigger to happen, it will automatically go off, look up the data, generate the tables, the charts, build it, PDF it, email it, text it, whatever it is you want to do. Okay, so what are the triggers? The triggers are either a row set. So I have it set up where you only create a report if it's got the same or equal to a certain number of row sets. So you might want to go, look, if we get one order in, don't bother sending me an email. But if we get 10 or more orders today, then please send me an order, because I know I've got to call everybody to let's start processing these orders. It's going to take us a while to get through them. So there's a row set trigger. And there's a date time issue trigger. So that might be the one where you go at midnight on Sunday night, give me a report as to what happened orders-wise or complaints-wise, or what happened in the database over the last week, or if it's a monthly report, over the last month. There's no reason why you can't have both as well, a time trigger and a row set trigger. So this is the sort of screen that I have showing up on my computer. So you can see up the very top it says, okay, what's the minimum number of records? If it's 0, fine, it'll automatically accept it, but I've got it where it's set to, for that particular data set, has 1 or more records. Return. You may want to have it have a particular date that it'll only run after. So if you want to set it up, but have it, okay, I don't want it to start yet. I want it to check every day, every minute or hour or whatever, but don't start yet. Don't start until the 1st of next month. You can put an absolute date in there. So that stops it just doing a machine gun straight away if you don't set things up right. So that I found very useful. You can set it to run on particular days of the week. So you can see I've got Monday to Sunday there. You can set it up on a particular day of the month. So you might want to have it run on the first day of the month, or any particular day that you may want. And again, if it's not that particular day of the week, if it's not that day of the month, it's just going to go, nope, not running, not running, not running. Okay, off we go. Next thing, repeat. Do you want your auto report to just run once, or do you want it to run on a regular basis? Is it a daily report, weekly report, monthly report? That's up to you. You can set it how frequently you want it to actually report through to you. The next one, the minimum time is important. So if, for example, you're checking for security issues, intrusions into your network, if all of a sudden somebody starts hacking into your system and you get lots of logs coming through, the last thing you want is to wake up in the morning and you've got 800 texts or 800 emails sitting on your computer. So you may go run every minute of every hour of every day and check to see if there are any intrusions into my network and report me as soon as one happens. But if it does happen, don't send me another report for another hour. So you get it, but when you wake up in the morning, if you were asleep when it all happened, you'll have 8 messages, say, rather than 800 or whatever it might be. And as a result of all of those calculations, it calculates and works out and remembers what time was this report last run and what time is it predicted next to run. Very important information. So what you can see here took a while, but it's actually quite a complex method to work out from all of that, from whatever the time is now and when it would last ran, how do you determine when it is next due to run? But I've got that all set up. Okay, so that is all of that's running now. Some of the things that I might want to put in the future. At the moment, when I connect in, it's a multi-user system, it only runs my reports. Well, I could set it up so that it actually, so I'm the host, I run all the auto reports for everybody so I can keep a computer set open with all of that in there and all the reports for everybody automatically run. Another one potentially is for me to run the auto reports on the server. So we don't need anybody to be logged in. The server itself just ticks over and it's got anybody got any auto reports? No, or yes. Have they triggered? Yes. Go off and run them. Nobody needs to be logged into the system at all, but the reports will be sent out. At the moment, the charts are brought into the HTML template as PNGs, embedded. It would be nice if there was some way that I could embed vector charts into the HTML so that when you resize your HTML or your PDF, it looks really nice. I'd like to bring in other chart types than Xojo. Graffiti Suite have calendar and timeline charts, they'd be nice. And of course, MBS Chart Director would be really nice to have those style charts as well. Okay, so I've gone pretty fast through it. I can show you a demo because we have time, but before I show you the demo, does anybody have any questions? Sure.
On which hardware does your main module run?
So I've got...
Is the daemon or is the app?
I have a standard Xojo app as a desktop app and a web app and a mobile app, each of which has a timer running in the background. And when that timer is set to trigger, the timer runs every minute and checks to see if we are due to run any auto reports, and if there's none, if there is one, then it will do the database lookups, build everything. So it runs completely cross-platform.
Okay, but there's not a faceless daemon process running.
There isn't, but that's why I was mentioning it would be good to take the auto report running out of the hands of the user, so they don't need to be logged in, and put it on the host, so the host does all that work for you.
Okay.
Yeah, but how beneficial it is to have a mobile version when most likely you don't have it open, right? How do you ensure to have the device on at midnight when you want to run the report?
So the mobile would normally be where when you receive the auto report, you receive the trigger, you receive the message, the text saying there's a problem, and then you go, oh well, before I go to bed, I better check that. But yes, when you're in front of the computer, you have everything available to you. So okay, but So normally you might not want to change everything on the mobile, but you do have the ability. If you are away and somebody says, oh, can you edit the HTML template to include such and such information, there's no reason why you can't get out your phone. You'll see I've got it as a running in the simulator. You can go into the editor on there, edit your HTML template to change some text. Maybe you've got a misspelling, you can change it, save, go back to the beach, and now the next time that template, that auto report is run, it will have the updated information.
David?
Yes?
Is this a open source project? Is it product you're selling? What's the...
It's not open source, but I'm happy to, because it's built into my main applications, which I could give you each of the tables and the code behind each section, but it's because they are all, each window and the containers and the methods are all separate. I'm happy to give that to you, but it's built into a larger application, which I can't give you.
Right.
So, but I'm happy to tell you everything, you know, that's behind every window and a button, and send people things. If you want to know how to convert a row set into an HTML table, I can do that. If you want to know how to turn a Xojo chart into a PNG and embed that, I can tell you. The rest of the placeholders, that's just looking up a row set and changing the contact name, you know, doing a replace all, that sort of thing.
So you could create like an example project that uses just some database?
I could, yes. There's no reason why not. I've kept each of the items to be, in a sense, platform agnostic. Okay. If there are not any other questions, I'm happy to just show you how it looks. So you can see here, this is the desktop version of the application, and in the middle we have the web. The web, and so you just click on these, and it shows you the items underneath. And here it is. There's the reporting capabilities on the web, and here they are on mobile. So I'll just go into the desktop. You can see I've got the email settings there. That's my particular, I'll click on it. So there's my email settings for this particular user or users. And there's the SMS settings there. The template's probably a bit more useful to you. So if I go and edit this, you'll see we have got, there's the HTML editor with all the information there. I'll just blow it up so we can see. So I'll just so I can show you that it works. Hello from Andernach. So you can see I've got user information placeholders over on the right in the HTML, and I've got contact placeholders onto here. So what it's going to do is when it runs, it's going to look up, okay, who's the user? It's David. I'll grab his particular record and search for those placeholders and put my information in there. Which particular contact is this for? Okay, I now know the contact, to replace all of those details. It's going to come down here and go, okay, here's a normal HTML table with 3 columns. Okay, it's going to put chart number 1 into the first column. It's going to put chart number 2 in the second, chart number 3 in the third. Here's another table, which is 1 column but 2 rows. It's going to put report table 1 and 2 into those. And just to make the thing bigger, I haven't got I do have page breaks working at some stage, but not in the PDF yet. So the charts I'm reproducing down here. So down below, it's going to also put in chart 1 and table 1, and then we've got these logos linked off-site. So what it's going to do behind the scenes is there's about 7 different row set lookups. One for my personal details, a second one for the contacts, third one for this chart, 4, 5 is for the other 2, 6, 7 for these particular tables, it's going to grab a row set. In fact, no, we've got 8, 9. So we have 9 separate lookups, 9 separate builds of information from the databases, from the row sets, convert them into HTML, and then see what we get out the other side. So I shall save that, come over here to my reports. I've already set up my database connection to the MySQL database. I've already set up my charts. I've set up my tables and data sets, the SQL there. I'm just going to go straight to, I call it Report Runner, but it's Auto Reports. And I'm going to click on that and go just edit it. And in here, you can see the information I had in my presentation before as to sort of all the settings that I need as to how frequently is this thing going to run. But I've said, look, absolute terms, never run until it's after the year 9999. So that way, it's not going to run. I've got email set up, so what particular template it's going to use, when it creates it, what email settings is it going to use and send it out, who's it going to send it to, carbon copy, all that sort of stuff. SMS, it's going to, I might as well choose the SMS setting, so hopefully it'll come through to my phone, and that's my phone number there. And there's the placeholders in the code to say what it's going to do to build the SMS auto report for me. Okay, so I'll go update, and in my case, it's never going to be running, but I will click on Run Now, and in about 10 seconds, what it's doing is it's going to be doing all of those database lookups to the different databases, creating the tables, creating the charts, and then converting it to a PDF. And the great thing, the Graffiti Suite have now come out with an HTML to PDF converter, which doesn't rasterize it anymore. So this is about 195K, so it's quite small, a PDF, but you can see it's brought everything in. There's one table, second table, there's a third one, which is too wide. It's automatically done a mail merge of all of my client details, my personal details, a table, one table, two tables, and we've got on the next page, we've brought the chart in again and another table. All done within seconds, and I did that as a manual process, and it's all automatically, because I asked it to, it's sent it off to my email. So there is the same thing as an email. There you go, we can actually see that chart there. Built in, it's the HTML. So this could be going off to your client with all the details, and you're lying on the beach in Tenerife. Okay, I could go into more details, and we have 5 minutes before lunch, but are there any more questions that people might have? Is this something that you might find useful? Yes?
Could you please explain a little bit more the mechanism? How did you track that something changed in database? Is it some type of capture that data capture design pattern or something else?
So I mean, what am I? You're wondering how I capture?
Yeah. So if something changed in database, for example, I have some event with it. So how did you understand that something changed?
Okay,
is it some type of handler listening?
So I'll just go back here and look up my data set. So the data set, I've got two of them here. One grabs the top 20 records, another one the top 5. So in this case, what I've got is a means by which I can come along and say, look, okay, only limit it to 20 records. What database are you coming from? From this particular database. What table in that database I'm going from transactions. So you can say a filter. So in this case, I've said, okay, only give me the records where the amount field is less than 20, just so I've made a nice looking chart. and that the transaction ID is greater than or equal to 20, just so that I could get get the latest information. That builds down below a SQL command. So when I build the ability, all of this is to build a SQL command. I store that SQL command in the database, so when I run it, I don't need to go all through this mess anymore. I just run that SQL command on this specified database, and that captures it. Now, if you always have data coming back, so in other words, it's constantly being triggered, then I would say don't make an auto report. An auto report will be for things that either need to happen on a regular basis, or it's a summary, or just a record of logs of information, or where you go, I don't want the computer system to bother me ever, except when I need to. So in my case, the systems that I were grabbing logs from the PCs and from the servers, like in the millions. We had databases with hundreds of millions of logs. But I don't want to be told whenever a log comes through. I want to be told whenever there's a problem log. So for example, there might be that a particular user hasn't updated their virus checking software. Or it may be that somebody is trying to access a server and that server is saying, hey, an invalid user, and it writes it to a log. So I'm looking for the tiny little needles in the haystack. So I don't need to go in every day and search through the haystack. I just needed to tell me that there were 5 attempts to search for needles in the haystack last night, and here where they were, and here's a chart. Now I know where to look. Yes?
I think for what he's looking for, you'd have to define what it means that a row has changed so that it can do a search, right? So whether that's, a date timestamp or an integer change, something. It's not automatically detecting a row has changed. You have to define what it means for a row to change. And then make a search that defines that.
If you sell a little product and you get millions of orders, you don't want to be told every time someone buys this. But if you sell a projector and somebody online says, I want to buy a 10,000 euro projector, you want to be notified as soon as that order comes through, because this is the way you have to walk carefully with something like this, that you want to be informed, but you don't want to be over-informed. You don't want to be informed too much. If I get an email message every time I sell some sweets, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to delete every email and not even bother to look. But if I find that we sell, if the number of orders in the last 24 hours is more than 5,000, I may go, oh, I need to know that, because then I need to make sure we have enough stocks to keep supplying people. So that's why it's hard work to set it all up at the beginning. It's a lot of work. What am I wanting to look for? What numbers, what value data is going to be important for me? What can I ignore? What can I not ignore? Yes?
Where do you define your triggers? Where are they stored?
So, in the data set, we define what SQL command, what select command is going to get, and then in the actual auto report itself, we say how many of those select records is enough to cause a trigger. Or if I can set that to 0 and just use a date and go, okay, on this particular date, whether there are 0 orders or 1 million orders, send me a report. And I can say check every day, but tick off everything except Sundays. So it's going to check every day, but only if today is a Sunday will it send me a report. And that way I can get the last week's worth of data. In fact, I can set it to check every minute of every day, but it'll only send it on Sunday. Yes?
So if logical question, if you have a mobile version and a web version, all your reports are also, or reporting templates are also stored somewhere, so if you change it on mobile, it's going to essentially be synchronized and change everywhere else?
Correct. So in this case, I'm running these. My application by default stores it in a local SQLite database, but I have the ability to move that onto a host, and then all of this, whether it's the phone, whether it's the web, whether it's my desktop, they're not looking at SQLite, they're looking to a host. And so when I update it on my mobile lying on the beach, it will update it for everybody. So if you are getting too many triggers through, you can, on your phone, you can go, oh, tell me what, not when there are 10 new orders, tell me when there's 100 new orders. Okay, save, back to sleep. It's 12:30, which is time for lunch.